The thing to remember about memories is that oftentimes they are inaccurate. And sometimes we're very proud of our memory, but in actuality, our memory is not that great. And we need to be careful of how much we hold on to a memory because we do have false memories. They feel like real memories and can be persistent but are inaccurate. That's the definition. And many of us have false memories about a lot of different things. You could have sworn that you did something, or that you could have sworn you left the keys on a or you could have sworn you left your cell phone on the table, but it isn't there. How could you be so inaccurate? You thought that you left your cell phone on that table, but it's not there. So many false memories happen, and we need to be aware of this. Some examples of false memories perhaps could be ex relationships. When you think about an ex relationship, you think, oh, you remember, oh, the simple stuff. You went to the movies, you went to a carnival, but you forget the difficult parts and why you ended the relationship in the first place. Forgetting things. Cell phones are a big deal. We always think, I just had it. I could have sworn I just put it in my pocket, or I just put it on that table. I remember on the last day of school, I swore that I took a shoebox which had markers and pencils, that I took it to my truck. I would have bet money on it. But when I looked in the truck, I could not find that shoebox. I went back to my classroom. Sure enough, it was in the classroom. But I would have bet you money that I took it, but I was wrong. Many times we could have sworn that we brought the charger, but now we can't find it. Or an example of a false memory could be being told a family story. Oh, when you were 3 years old, you did this, and you've heard that story so many times, and now you think you might remember it, but in actuality, you've only heard the story so many times, so you think that you remember it. Now, the thing about false memories is we cannot remember what we have not encoded. One of the reasons why we have false memories so much is because we're not encoding as much as we should be. We're busy, we're running around, we're doing multiple things. So we're not encoding, where did I leave the keys? Where did I leave my cell phone? We're not encoding as much. And when you fail to encoding, failure leads to forgetting. And that makes sense. And we shouldn't be we can't be encoding every little thing. I mean, we're busy, we're running around. So false memories are really the result of not encoding enough false memories. And that leads us to something called the misinformation effect. This is when a memory has been corrupted by misleading information. Our memory, again, is not that strong and it can be manipulated. And an experiment was done where a person they saw an accident, and depending on the question that they asked, it could lead to their opinion of the accident, of the car crash. So, for example, if they were showing a video and the crash in the video was not that bad, and if the person asking the question said, when the two cars made an impact, how fast would you say they were going? Compared to about how fast were the cars going when they collided and smashed into each other. Just by using the word collided and smashed, those words would increase the rate of speed compared to, say, if someone said, well, how fast were the cars going when they made an impact on each other? The simple manipulation of words can affect the memory, and this is the misinformation effect. And it also is why memory is not that strong in court and eyewitnesses. can lead to people getting in trouble because their memory is not as strong as they would like to think. Now, another term to keep in mind is something called source amnesia. Source amnesia, forgetting the source and event we have experienced, heard about, read about, or imagined. For an example of source amnesia would be if, let's say that you know that on Friday you're going to get out of school early. Well, how do you know that? I don't know where I read this. I don't know who told me. The reason we have source amnesia is because we're not encoding where we heard that information, but we are encoding what is important to us, right? What's important to us is this Friday, we're going to get out of class early. I don't know who told me. I don't know where I read it. I didn't encode that because I don't care about that. What I did encode, though, is that this Friday, we're going to get out of school early. Source amnesia. We're very selective about what we want to remember, and we're very selective about what we encode. Finally, there's something called deja vu, and it's that eerie sense of, I've experienced this before. Definition of deja vu. Cues from the current situation may unconsciously trigger retrieval of an earlier experience. Sometimes a smell or a color or a certain sound is going to trigger that deja vu experience. I'll give you two quick examples. So I have a cousin and her name is Sally. Now, Sally is 10 years younger than I am, and one time as I was watching her eat some barbecue, the way that she would pick apart the food reminded me of her brother. Her brother and I were raised together. Simply watching her eat triggered that deja vu of being younger and hanging out with her brother. Now I have a sister named Patty. And one day I was comforting Patty. I was telling her, oh, it's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. And I had my hand on her back and I said, it's going to be okay. And then she said, the way that you're comforting me, the way that you have your hand on my shoulder, it reminds me of Mom. It triggered that deja vu. So deja vu can be triggered by any number of things. So it's something to keep in mind. When we have that feeling of I've experienced this before, it's because it's being triggered by a color, a feeling, a smell, or really any number of things. Make sure you're familiar with all of these terms on this chapter called memory.